Welcome back to the baddest YouTube channel in the land. This is Rod OG coming straight from the OG community. How we doing today, OG community? I'm back with another banger. This one is very insightful here. But before we get into this, let's make sure we get this video to 5,000 likes. Let's get me to 10,000 subscribers on our way to setting records. Thank you for all the support, OG community, but I got another banger for you. But make sure we liking and subscribing every video so I can keep bringing those bangers and we can push this thing through the algorithm so we can reach more people. The purpose is to get the message out. Now let's begin.
Does anyone else feel like the veil is not just being lifted right now? It is being ripped off all of our eyes. I never trusted anyone anyway, but look what I just found. I could have sworn they told us that the jab did not contain graphene oxide, but what the hell is this Chinese patent? Unless I need glasses, which I know I don't. This says the new CV jab, I'm yelling. I am yelling. Yes, I'm yelling. Contains graphene oxide. Unless there's some crust in my eyes in which I am not seeing this right. There you have it, folks. And here you also have it. You know what? You might not belong here, okay? You might not belong here. For those of you that do, microwave radio frequencies, 5G 16, graphene nanomaterials, technologies used in neurological warfare. They can't hide this shit from us. They can't. It's like part of the universal law. It has to be in plain sight. We see the towers going up. We are getting these jabs, which clearly they are telling us what's in them. All we're focused on is the news, the media, all that fake shit. Wake up.
Left the United States of America.
Yes, sir, I have.
Why?
I do not feel safe living in the United
Really?
States.
Do you want to come in and sit down?
No, sir, I'd rather not.
You'd rather just be here so you can make a fast exit if you have
As soon as you and I finish,
You're out
I'm
here.
leaving the country again. Why? Because in a very short time, not today, not tomorrow, but very soon, we'll be facing compulsory vaccination under the mistaken term of voluntary vaccination.
Now, what is it about these vaccinations? You think that they're bad?
Well, first of all, let's start with the fact that the World Health Organization has decided that we have 90% too many people. The World Health Organization has been working since 1974 on vaccines to create permanent sterility.
Doctor, the response is going to be, you're crazy. How can you say this stuff?
They will induce a pandemic. You're going to get the flu. Everybody around us is going to get the flu. Then the United States government, based on their statements that they've already made, will say, oh my, we have a pandemic. What that means is a Holocaust, a genocidal Holocaust. Men and women will sicken and die, and those who survive will be infertile. Let me tell you a story. In 2003, I had a patient in my drug-free medical practice who was a head of state. And one day she said, you know, it's almost time for the great culling to begin.
The what?
That's what I said. The what? She said the great culling, C-U-L-L-I-N-G, when you thin the herd. I said, what are you talking about? She said, it's almost time for the...
They've been plotting on us for a long time. I mean, you got to think, some of y'all was in kindergarten when they were planning this. The whole time it's always been about controlling the population. That ain't right. They're just killing people off and blaming it on an epidemic.
useless eaters to be culled. And she said, those are the people who are consuming our non-renewable natural resources. I said, who are the people who make this decision? She said, we, the aristocrats.
This person you talk to, you're bound because you're a physician and there's the relationship that you can't talk. Is this person a member of the Bilderbergs?
She is not Queen Beatrice. She is not the Queen of England. She is not Henry Kissinger. But she certainly presented herself as a member of that power elite, and she certainly was a head of state.
Parasites can cause excitability in the sexual organs, causing masturbation in younger children. If too many eggs are given, the liver becomes changed and the host will die within 2 weeks. This test was done on mice, dogs, and children. My husband and I were able to obtain a vial of tetanus vaccine. In this vial, we made 24 pools and examined the liquid contents under magnification. 21 of the 24 pools, we saw a variety of toxins, including undetermined parasite eggs, skin material, lime rod material, algae, and fungus, and encapsulated toxic formations. Only 3 of the 24 vaccine pools had clean bacterial indicators. This explains how one vaccine vial can give different results.
In an old video from 1995, a theology professor named Pierre Gilbert warned of mandatory vaccines that would turn recipients into zombies. He speaks in French, so I will translate. In the biological destruction, there are the organized tempests on the magnetic fields. What will follow is the contamination of the bloodstreams of mankind, creating intentional infections. This will be enforced via laws that will make vaccination mandatory. And these vaccines will make possible to control people. The vaccines will have liquid crystals.
Okay, DNA, that's a very good question. DNA is just an abbreviation for a much longer name, deoxyribonucleic acid. That's what DNA stands for. Now, deoxy, see, that's a Latin root. If you trace its meaning, it means God. So deoxyribo. In the Semitic languages, ribo is the same as rabbi. Or in Arabic, we say Rab. It means the master, the Lord. So here we have deoxyribo, God, Lord, and master, nucleic acid. Nucleic means at the center, and acid is like chemical fire. So deoxyribonucleic acid, DNA. What does it mean? God, Lord and Master. The fire at the center of my being. So what does the Bible say about it? It says, in the beginning was the Word. And the Word was what? The Word was God. And the Word was with God. Then it says, after many days, the Word became flesh and dwelt among men. Well, see, that's DNA. So now, the DNA basically is the God molecule that actually is the blueprint for how to make a human being. Every molecule, every protein, every substance in your body was coded for, programmed for, in the DNA. But how did it get expressed as a protein, say in muscle or bone? How did that get expressed physically? Out of a word. How did it manifest into flesh? That's the messenger RNA. See, the mRNA, the small case M stands for messenger. So it's almost theological. If DNA is the God molecule, well, how does God communicate with the world? He sends messengers, prophets, teachers, with a message. So in the cell of a body, okay, suppose some injury took place. Suppose you cut your skin, like I got a little thing here. Okay, so a message went to the cell from the DNA. Oh, there was a protein that got destroyed in some cell. We need 300 of those units to replace what got destroyed. So the messenger RNA comes out with that message to code for that protein. And then the cell gets busy and makes 300 copies of that exact protein, fixes.
He explained and broke that down real well. Very impressed. Very impressed. Thank you for that.
Whatever the injury was, we call that healing. We take it for granted. But how did it happen? The DNA was in charge and gave a command to the messenger RNA to go make a protein. It's creation taking place at every minute, every second. Why? Because it's God that's at the very center of our being. So what does the enemy to God and the righteous want to do? He wants to send in an alien word, an alien messenger RNA. Not the word of God coming from the divine, but coming from the outside, literally coming from Bill Gates. So what kind of message does Bill Gates want to send into your cells? A 2 or 3 generational genocidalist, eugenicist. He's hated black people, even his father, his grandfather. They all believed in eugenics, population reduction, but they didn't have the means to carry it out. And so now here's little Billy. He's got the means in his hands to actually carry out the depopulation agenda of his father and his grandfather.
How can we take your party seriously when you have on stage a cardiologist, a very controversial cardiologist, who says the King's cancer was caused by the COVID vaccine?
Now, the world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
OG community, I know y'all stay sharp. Who caught what he said? He said they could reduce the population by 10 to 15% by having better vaccines. Huh? I thought the purpose of the vaccine was to protect you against the viruses. So now the vaccine is the virus? I'm confused. Like, they find all kind of ways to kill us. Allegedly. But we're going to find out.
Well, common sense would tell you if you have a man standing in front of you saying he's going to reduce the world's population by 10 or 15% using vaccines, what does that mean to you? It means somebody's going to die because you put a vaccine in them. It doesn't mean you're going to save people. That's pretty much common sense in my brain. But yet I saw him say it. He said it. And here we are. I don't know. Here we are. I'm now an anti-vaxxer. I wasn't before.
I will start with the statement of Joseph Sansone. It is based on the sworn statement of the late Professor Dr. Francis Boyle, who has determined and concluded. Professor Boyle is the greatest authority in the field of bioweapons legislation. He is the author of it. So he knows what is legally meant by it. He knew, like no other, that the COVID-19 mRNA injection is a bioweapon. He has also made that loud and clear to the world, known, after which, despite being in good health, he passed away shortly after he had declared himself willing to give testimony under oath about this in court. The core of Professor Boyle's argument is that the COVID-19 mRNA injections contain derivatives of illegal military gene function research. As a result, the COVID-19 injections qualify, by definition, as a military biological weapon system. A bioweapon, in other words. This bioweapon consists of two integrated components: the pathogenic load and the delivery mechanism. It is beyond doubt that the pathogenic load is the product of illegal gene or function research. Boyle refers to this, to an article in the scientific journal Nature Medicine, of which I have included the link in this plea note. If you open that link, you will immediately read the warning that true scientists believe that an animal is the most likely source of the coronavirus. You will also immediately know that what is called the new normal, true scientists, are not scientists, but faith fanatics. These are the scientists behind whom the respondents hide. The article in Nature Medicine that Boyle reports on was published in 2015, and the title reads, translated, "A cluster of circulating coronaviruses in bats, similar to SARS, shows potential for human infection." I present to you what the summary of this research included in the article reveals. It states, based on these findings, we have synthetically created an infectious, fully SHC014 recombinant virus developed and demonstrated robust viral replication, both in vitro and in vivo. So it states, we researchers have created a SARS-like coronavirus with a spike protein optimized for human infection. I cannot provide a better example of illegal gain of function research. And who wrote that article from 2015? Among others, researchers affiliated with UNC Chapel Hill and the Wuhan Institute of Virology. Wuhan, yes, Wuhan. You know, where according to the official narrative, people suddenly dropped dead on the street when COVID-19 broke out because there was a bat mutated. The spike protein, the pathogenic payload of the bioweapon, is the result of this research. So it's not about a natural spike protein, but an illegally developed, synthetically made pathogen that has been optimized for human infection. The spike protein mRNA, with the instructions to human cells to produce this very pathogenic spike protein, is one of the two crucial building blocks of the COVID-19 bioweapon. Now, the delivery system, the NLPs, you know, the nanolipid particles that encapsulate the mRNA payload and deliver it into the interior of the cells. The propaganda term for this is fat globules, as if we're talking about something as harmless as a stick of butter. What did Boyle declare about it? Boyle declared that it is actually about a nanotechnology-enhanced delivery platform. This technology is, as Boyle declared, paid for, developed, financed, and conceived by the Pentagon and its research institute, DARPA. This technology platform, nanotechnology platform, was not an afterthought. Dr. Boyle points out that the virus itself was aerosolized and engineered with nanotechnology from the very beginning. This indicates a long-term program aimed at the application of advanced delivery systems, and this technology has been used in the COVID-19 injections. Boyle determined that the NLP delivery system in the injections...
This is exactly why me and my family did not get those injections. No one ever got sick, but they kept pushing it. You needed to come to work. You needed to get on airplane. You needed to go here. You needed to go there. You can't travel without it. They was pushing and pushing and pushing everybody in America to put that nanotechnology in their blood system, allegedly. It's a dirty, dirty world, man. It's a cold world we live in. If we can't even trust our judgment, if we can't even trust our government, what can we trust? It's only one thing we could put trust in, and that's God.
Is the result of a specific teacher-sponsored program for nanotechnological biological weapons. In the presentation by Sanson, you can read further about the legal implications of this. It is also argued that Gates and Bourla qualify as suspects of crimes against humanity as defined in the Rome Statute concerning the International Criminal Court.
In Spain, apparently there was an investigation by the federal police, and they caught a bunch of people in, I guess, what would be like a vaccine passport sting. This is a shocking headline. It's really incredible. Listen to this. Big Pharma boss caught faking his COVID vaccination status, injected himself with salt water, instead now facing criminal charges. It says police have charged Jose Maria Fernandez Sosa Faro, the president of European pharmaceutical behemoth Pharma Mar, with being falsely vaccinated against COVID-19. Dr. Sosa Faro is embroiled in a European controversy involving individuals, many of whom are well-known figures, being added to the National Immune Registry in exchange for large sums of money. Dr. Sosa Faro is among more than 2,200 celebrities and European elites on a list drawn up by the National Police of those falsely vaccinated against COVID. According to El Mundo, that's the newspaper reporting, Spanish police carried out.
Why would they need to fake these vaccinations if they didn't already know they were not good for us? They knew from the beginning. They knew from the start that this was going to have a negative impact on us. Allegedly.
Out the investigation called Operation Jenner, which uncovered the vast network of celebrities and elites who have paid money to have their names fraudulently entered on the National Immunization Register, despite refusing to be vaccinated. And it says here, this is the kicker. According to the police who are investigating the 2,200 false COVID-19 vaccination certificates, the fee was dependent on your social standing. The more important you were, the higher the price you paid. You got to wonder if that's going on in other countries, like the United States.
Yeah, I mean, how many professional athletes, had a doctor squirt a vaccine into a trash can? How many people in power? I've even heard inside sources, inside CDC, FDA, saying that, they're cheating in here. Now, here you have a guy that works in the pharmaceutical industry, so he should know, if anyone's going to know what's going on there. And this guy's paying a fortune in order to keep from putting this thing in his body. In some ways, I guess it's unfortunate that they got caught. I guess, they were trying to just live a naturally healthy life. And the only way they sought to do that was by, I guess, fraudulently providing state documents. But I think we're going to see more of these types of things. Makes you think about how you move forward in a world like this. I mean, this is again, we laugh, but it's very dystopian, right? If you haven't gotten that injection, if you don't have that, serum running through your veins, are there machines that are going to detect that? Are we going to have a dye or something that appears in our veins? All of this has been discussed. All these thoughts are out there, and those technologies are being worked on as we speak.
Right. How many of these people, the 2,200 celebrities and elites, as they say in this article, how many of these people were on the front end pushing this through, PSAs or through commercials or pushing it because they're a sports celebrity? And then on the back end, the hypocrisy of this is jaw-dropping.
Welcome to Liberty Talk Canada. I'm Odessa Orlowitz. Smoking gun, Bill Gates, through Freedom of Information request by ICANN, has been proven that he was teeing up COVID-19 vaccines well before the pandemic was even declared. At this point, they put Martha Stewart in jail for far less than what Bill Gates is slowly getting caught for. Back in 2020, ICANN sued NIH to get access to his emails during the pandemic and won. The latest batch contains a very interesting email in which Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation official introduces Graham at NIH to Ugur Sahin, CEO of BioNTech. Now, isn't that interesting? They were already working on COVID vaccines when it wasn't even declared till January 30th that it was an outbreak of concern. Nothing more than outbreak of concern. And the pandemic wasn't called a pandemic by the WHO till March 11th. Why is it that prior to the WHO announcing that it's a concern on the 30th of January 2019, these guys say they've already been working on a vaccine in their February 2nd conversation? In other words, they knew this was a pandemic and they had been starting to prepare well before it. It's a smoking gun. These emails are a smoking gun. Even though the rest of it is redacted, this is enough. So we know that the Gates Foundation bought shares in BioNTech back in September 2019. So one person had a cold that they labeled SARS-CoV-2, and they'd already been setting all this up, and that it is ready to discuss a corresponding license agreement. In another email on March 13th, 2020, a market research company reached out to Graham saying that stock markets were plunging and asking him to answer some questions to help them understand market sentiment of the vaccines industry towards COVID-19 vaccines. So they weren't worried about saving lives. They were worried about money. Graham forwarded the email to the VRC director and said, FYI, quote, I never answer inquiries like this, but do you think it might be appropriate for people like us to speak to the investor world and try to calm things down? In other words, saying, come on, guys, this is it. We're making these vaccines. You're going to make a ton of money. They had this all teed up. Both these incidences show how the NIH acts just like a for-profit corporation. This is Fauci. You know, he's the science. Corporation with a vested interest in forming partnerships and worrying about financial markets, perhaps because the agency and many of its employees stand to profit from the success of the vaccines they develop, just like Graham did from the Moderna vaccine.
The 248-page patent for the Moderna technology that was administered to people in the COVID shots was filed in 2020. The patent lists several embodiments or variations of this technology. And while we don't know who got what embodiment, we know that several different batch numbers were deployed, and some were far more deadlier than others. According to the Moderna patent, this technology contains self-assembled nanoparticles, and in certain variations, these nanoparticles can be used for the controlled release of compounds once they are in the human body. These lipid nanoparticles are encapsulated into a polymer hydrogel, a controlled release coating that includes polyvinyls. This has been verified by Anna Mielchia and Clifford Carnicom's research. In a 2013 TEDMed talk, Dr. Ido Bachelet says that these nanorobots have already been successfully developed in Israel, and that they can be injected into the human body with a basic syringe. He shows an image of what they look like, and they appear to be the same structures that the fifth column found in their research, and claimed was powered by 5G, which was confirmed by Dr. Bachelet.
My team developed nanorobots that carry antennas. These antennae are made from metal nanoparticles. Now, the antenna enabled the nanobots to respond to externally applied electromagnetic fields. So these versions of nanobots can actually be activated with the press of a button on a joystick.
The work of Todd Callender's team at VaxChoice.com have concluded that these shots contain a variety of synthetic pathogens that can be released with external 5G frequencies. The Moderna patent describes these nanoparticle mimics, which mimic the delivery of a variety of pathogens, and lists over 100 of them within the patent. And according to the work at VaxChoice, these synthetic pathogens each have an IP address. They are cataloged by the Department of Energy, and they use cesium-137, which we have been contaminated with from the environment, as a building block for their construction within our bodies using external frequency. And their research shows that the Microsoft patent filed in 2020, 060606, cryptocurrency system using body activity data, is now in effect, and that this technology is turning the human body into an antenna, which can output energy, meaning that humans are being turned into batteries to fuel the digital AI prison that is being built around us.
That's very interesting. We are emitting energy for the ones that were given that COVID-19 vaccine. That is crazy, but it would make sense. If you were trying to convert everything to AI and you needed an energy source, why not use the people that's going to be around them every day? Literally, you will be powering their technology by just being present. That is wild. These are the things that they do to us. Treat us like lab rats, allegedly.
And if you choose not to comply, the technology includes a built-in kill switch. Thanks to many independent researchers and scientists, we are figuring out their agenda, but they continue to walk freely among us, unrestrained by any justice whatsoever.
It's not just those two guys. I know a lot of people now with pretty severe vaccine injuries.
So do I.
And so many people have reached out to me because of what happened to me. Celebrities that wanted to be quiet about it. You know, people that are like really hesitant about talking about it openly and publicly. But they were really scared. Like people that have like real serious problems. I have two friends that have pacemakers now.
Yeah, I remember you talked about that. They're like one of them in their 30s, right?
Yeah. He's a dentist.
That's not fucking normal.
No, it's not normal.
It's not normal
for
at
your
all.
heart to stop for 9 seconds at a time. He's a thin, healthy, young guy, and all of a sudden his heart starts fucking up.
Why does nobody care about that?
Well, everyone's scared. There's people that are scared because they took it and they're worried that they have a ticking time bomb and they want any information that refutes that and that confirms that they made the right choice. Also, they did make the right choice morally and ethically when they did it. They did it because they thought they were doing the right thing. Everybody has to do it. We're going to protect everyone. If we all do this, this is going to get us out of the pandemic. Because the news media was being used by these pharmaceutical drug companies to push a very specific narrative. And they didn't do any critical thinking. They didn't step outside the box. They didn't talk to any scientists that differed. They all just stuck with whatever Fauci said, whatever the NIH said. And they also demonized people who were saying things that have been proven to be absolutely correct, like the fucking lab leak theory. If you brought up the lab leak theory, you used to get banned from YouTube. Now it's widely accepted by everyone.
So is all the conspiracies that got people censored and kicked off. So many of them have been proven to be true.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. So many people thought they were doing the right thing. They thought, I'm doing my part. This is what we're supposed to do. 2 weeks stop the spread. I'm full on board.
We're all together.
But let's look at what happened. And people are always like, why do you keep fucking bringing up the vaccine? For multiple reasons. But listen, this is a playbook that now we have.
Right.
For the next time they fucking try and do this shit.
Right.
Don't forget about this.
And here are 7 different people represented in these test tubes. And this is clinical waste that I'm about to dispose of. But these are 7 different people who came in to us and were embalmed. And during that process, this spilled out of their arteries onto our embalming table tray, was kept, and I'm documenting it now before disposing of this clinical waste to prove to people that this is coming out of deceased vaccine recipients. Each one represents a person murdered by the state who will never see justice unless we get it for them. And I devote my life into getting that justice for them. This has got to stop.
If you followed me, you'll know I over 30 years in research in the pharmaceutical industry and biotech. I trained in toxicology and I worked with colleagues designing experimental molecules that we hoped would become medicines. That gives me the credentials to stand, as it were, in the shoes of the designers of these vaccines and answer the question, what were you thinking when you made these design decisions? Now, you can go and watch any of my interviews, but I'll cut to the chase. And you may not believe it, but I am sure, not slightly, but sure, these materials were designed intentionally to harm, maim, and kill, and to reduce human fertility. That is my verdict, and I can stand it up. I will be in court, Supreme Court in Costa Rica very shortly, and I'll be using exactly this argument, but I will give the detail. That's the first point. So don't take these injectables. Don't take the next lot either. They will also be designed to harm you. All mRNA.
What you see here is a Pfizer BioNTech COVID-19 injection when it was first put on a slide. And in the background, you see all of these blinking lights and extreme activity. This is 100 times magnification. And here you see that something is self-assembled that we call microchips, because we have done studies that these microchips are actually emitting what's called a MAC address phenomenon.
Tell us what the flashing dots are in the background.
This is what's called nano and micro robots. They are communicating with each other via light signal, and they are collaborating to self-assemble these larger structures that are microchips. And so this is in the realm of self-assembling nanotechnology. Here you see a micro robot emitting blue light. Here's another one. This background swarming is what I've seen in the human blood, and I will show you later images of that. They did analysis of COVID-19 injection and found 54 undeclared chemical elements, including...
It's a fraud. It's a lie. It's an absolute scam. And they've got it introduced to impeach Kennedy. So it's a smokescreen for all this news coming out about the carnage and death and what they've done. And they just now introduced impeachment of Kennedy because he said for most people, you don't need a measles shot. So they're trying to launch a new pandemic hysteria. They said they would. Hotez, Fauci, all of them. Now they've been hiding under rocks. Now they're saying it's the most devastating thing in the world. Hundreds have measles. Run for the hills. It's all over. A measles outbreak brings with it echoes of the pandemic. In South Carolina, parents struggle to deal with infections that have brought quarantines and remote learning. Healthcare workers are bracing for an increase in cases. How many people have died? Can ask ChatGPT, Grok, any of it. Measles death in 2025. I told the crew, I said, I think it's 3 last time I checked. Checked. Yep. Checked 2 different AIs. 3 deaths out of 350 million people as of December 13th, 2025. And all 3 of those deaths, all 3 of them had, because I remember the cases, 3, I've had Peter McCullough about it, 3 comorbidities, meaning 3 things killing you, meaning it wasn't measles. You were already on your deathbed. They just put that on the death certificate. So remember all we went through with that. And let me just show you a graph here. This is from the CDC data. There's a big Substack article about it. Measles death per 100,000 in the United States. Here's where the measles vaccine was introduced back in the 50s, and it was already gone. And then they say, oh, nobody's dying from it now because of the shot. Nope. This is sanitation. This is better nutrition. And also, everybody had the virus, so it mutated into a form that was basically harmless. So, and this is the same graph on every other damn infectious disease. Sanitation kicks in, widespread by 1900 in every industrialized world, and the infectious diseases go whoop. But now if you look at infectious diseases, actually, when, other than measles, when the shots started in the 50s and 60s, it goes. And now here we are in 2025. All this stuff's back. Everything's worse. All these things that didn't used to kill us or make us sick are because they give you a shot that erases your immune system. And here's the Substack article on it. Routine vaccine sanitation and a look back in history. Excellent article by Caitlin Jetelina and Kristen Pantagani. Okay. Facts. I love them. It's not a black hole of gossip. It gives me a headache. We can get something done here. We can save some lives. We can stop the globalists. Stop nuclear war. There's a good article on Infowars.com from the Brownstone Institute. The pandemic revealed the most cowardly society of all time. I never wore a mask. I never submitted. I was out there when the lockdown started in an armored vehicle with leftists throwing bricks at us saying it's all a fraud, it's all a lie. It came out of Chapel Hill, didn't come out of Wuhan. And of course, I was right about everything because I had the facts. I went and studied them and talked to the top experts. Now I have to study other things to stop infighting. Excellent point to remember that. Meanwhile, FDA intends to put its most serious warning on COVID vaccines. They've withdrawn liability protection, which essentially doesn't even let them put it out. But now they're going to put a black box warning saying it can kill you, heart attacks, cancers, you name it. And they're trying to spin it, oh, we've confirmed some deaths of kids. That was in their later studies after they rolled it out, and Pfizer got caught covering up the deaths of the kids. We knew this years ago from the whistleblowers. Why do you think Pfizer wanted to wait till the year 2075? And then they said that wasn't enough. They wanted to be the year 2097 before they ever release any documents. The judges ordered them to, but now they just slowly trickle them out. And what we get is devastating. But it turns out the CDC and the HHS was keeping records of it all because they were running and engaging how good the killing was going. And they destroyed all that stuff, but Kennedy's been able to find some of it. And this is the stuff that comes out but barely hits the news. Oh, yeah, they didn't accidentally do all this. This was all planned. Excellent breakdown on some of these researchers, doctor scientists. Increase your, this is the mainline state-level studies, government studies. We only have 2 in the world. Increase your risk of 7 major cancers. Exhibit 17 cancers, including mechanisms. Can integrate into human genomes, disrupts thousands of genes, all documented peer-reviewed literature. First study on COVID vaccines increase risk of multiple cancers. Second study finds COVID-19 vaccines increase risk of multiple cancers. 17 ways mRNA shots induce cancer, according to 100 studies. mRNA vaccine genomic integration, mutation in your body, cancer. 5, mRNA injections induce severe, long-lasting genetic disruption linked to cancer and chronic disease. Oh, FDA intends to put its most serious warning on COVID vaccines, sources say. Oh, and of course they knew the PCR tests were totally fake, and the inventor of it said it was a total scam. It wasn't false positives, it's all lies. Just like a metal detector, it's similar. You can take a metal detector and turn up its sensitivity all the way on high and point it at the sky, and it'll tell you whatever you're searching for, whatever it's set to, gold, silver, iron, it'll tell you the air is iron. It's not. You just turn it up. So, you have to learn to use a metal detector, turn it up just enough to get the right sense for what you're looking for, and it's bloop, beep, beep, boop, boop, boop. Okay, so but you turn it up, it's going to go feedback loop all the time. And that's all they did was, we need more testing. They turn up 30, 40 times, where 100% of the time you're going to have it. But now the way they spin is, well, 8 out of 10 were wrong. We made a mistake. Ha, ha, ha. I told you at the time, those companies are taking the nasal swab with your genetics and selling it. And, of course, they were. And, of course, it came out. The sky's the limit of what these crooks will do. So that's where we are. That's the facts. That's what they're trying to do. 3 people, they say, died of measles this year. You turn on the fake news, you'd think it was the end of the world. You'd think Godzilla just attacked the East Coast. And you know most people that have these measles? Illegal aliens. And why? Because they're from other countries and aren't used to our strains. And they come in and they get a little sicker. So instead of a few red dots, maybe a few scars, whatever. Okay? But don't know, the kid's got, cancer and heart defects and, was already in a wheelchair. Okay, measles killed him. 3 people into the world, run for the hills. About 20,000 a year die in the U.S. of flu. It's usually related to other comorbidities, or you get super dehydrated, don't have anybody to take care of you, end up convulsing and dying. It can happen. Well, I've had flu before. I wish I felt like I was dead. But in every study, they admit, just look it up, the flu shot has always not helped you. They've never picked the right strain. It's always the year before, and it increases you getting other viruses and flu and lowers your immunity in all the studies. Look it up. It's been known the whole time. It's a fraud. It's a lie. It's a absolute scam. And they've got it introduced to impeach Kennedy. So it's a smokescreen for all this news coming out about the carnage and death and what they've done. And they just now introduced impeachment of Kennedy because he said for most people, you don't need a measles shot. And all the more educated people, medical doctors and people like that. We had some medical doctors. I forgot to tell the story last week when I lived in a nice part of Austin. Not super ultra elite, but it was nice. And 2 doors down were husband and wife that were both doctors, and their kids were the same age as my 2 middle daughters. So I think Charlotte was like 5, and Georgia was about 3 when they were playing with their kids. And I don't remember the exact stories. I remember it was no big deal. But it was like, oh yeah, the neighbors. One of their kids has measles, and they're wondering if you want to have a measles party. So you get it because you're healthy at that point. You're not run down to get the measles, and then you get it, and we're like, yeah, have them on over. And then sure enough, they got a fever the next day, got a red spot on their faces, and never had measles again. That's how you really get the shot, because those were just medical doctors. I mean, what do they know? But see, that's the real world, people. See, you don't want to get the measles when you're run down. Then you might actually get a little sicker. But if you're totally healthy, and see, and then that's just some of the science. This is all known stuff. They told you there's no such thing as normal immunity. It's not just a thing, it's the thing. The thing. Do you know I've never had any vaccines in my life except a tetanus shot? And I didn't get sick from it. A tetanus shot almost killed my uncle. And I stepped all the way through a nail. And I was about 9 years old, maybe 10. My dad goes, oh. Then he went to the pharmacy and talked to them and got a special brand that was known to be better, because doctors all know that. It's come out like the quote, elites take special vaccines. That's forever. These higher brand ones that are made by better companies. And he gave me the shot. And then the next time I stepped on a nail, because I was always running around construction sites and stuff, I didn't tell him. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I've had one shot. One shot. I get sick like every 2 years. I got sick, like a couple weeks ago for like one day, like a little fever and sore throat. But I know these people that are constantly on antibiotics and constantly getting shots. They are so unhealthy. Everybody knows about this. Oh, ISIS kills American soldiers, interpreter, ambush in Syria. Give me that news. Yeah, they just laid to rest the murdered National Guard soldier, laid to rest with full military honors. And we've got Congressman Thompson saying it was an accident. In fact, pull that video in. But let me play a couple of these videos just since I mentioned it on the COVID. Let's play. The good news. Yeah, Trump signed an executive order massively restricting gain of function. Robert Malone, that heads up one of the commissions that helped do this, said there's a little more they need to do, but this basically dials it back 80, 90%. The executive order finally slams the door on engineered pandemics, is the headline. Then another one, PCR test, massively overdiagnosed COVID. Jimmy Dore, no, that was total fraud. And then I had one more on COVID here that I wanted to get to. Oh, yeah, here it is. 17, mRNA infections increase your risk of 7 major cancers. So play those 3 clips back to back.
do PCR tests to see if you had COVID. Turns out almost 9 out of 10 of those tests that said you had COVID were fraudulent.
Oh man. God.
You were lied to about COVID. You were lied to about the PCR test. You were lied to about the entire pandemic, not just the vaccines. Here's Dr. John Campbell. There's a new study out of Germany, and watch what he found out.
Today we're going to be looking at research from Germany that shows that between 86 and 90% of COVID tests using the PCR, polymerase chain reaction methods, were false positives. In other words, COVID was massively overdiagnosed.
And if it wasn't massively overdiagnosed, if they didn't make this error, which a lot of people think was an intentional lie, which is what it more looks like, and these people are actual criminals, if they didn't have these bogus tests, they couldn't have declared a pandemic because most people who they said had COVID actually didn't have COVID. So 86%, if you round up, that's 9 out of 10 people who the government told you had COVID didn't have COVID. Oh. Remember how they said the flu disappeared during COVID? Well, I bet they probably had flu. I can't believe how few people in this space are going to cover this story. I'm going to guess mostly none of them. This is a big lane for me. Your independent media sucks.
The first relates to gain-of-function research. Gain-of-function research is a type of biomedical research where pathogens are adulterated, viruses are adulterated to make them more potent or to change the way that they function. Many people believe that gain-of-function research was one of the key causes of the COVID pandemic that struck us in the last decade. What this executive order does, first of all, it provides powerful new tools to enforce the ban on federal funding for gain-of-function research abroad. It also strengthens other oversight mechanisms related to that issue and creates an overarching strategy to ensure that biomedical research in general is being conducted safely.
The funny part about this is, if you look at Trump, he don't understand nothing that man talking about. All them medical terms and stuff he talking, Trump is lost. He too busy worrying about, is my wig on right? He is not even paying that no attention. He really wishing to hurry up. It's crazy. And that was our president. That is our president.
And in a way that ultimately protects human health more.
It's a big deal. It could have been that we wouldn't have had the problem we had.
A lot of people say that, sir.
If we had this done earlier. Thank you.
The only 2 population studies that were ever conducted looking at COVID vaccines and cancer both found multiple increases in 7 distinct types of cancers. By up to, it ranges from about 30% increased risk to about 80%. Overall cancers were up about 25 to 27%, and it's across both vaccine platforms, mRNA and viral vector, which was Johnson & Johnson and AstraZeneca. And so you have that, and remember, this was over 8.7 million people combined in both of these studies. And so it's undeniable now. We see the population signals, but we also have the mechanistic evidence to support it. We've identified the first instance of genomic integration of mRNA vaccine genetic material in a stage 4 bladder cancer patient, as well as now other case reports. They're finding spike protein, vaccine spike protein, directly within metastatic tumor cells and their nuclei of these cells. And we're also seeing gene expression chaos. We just had a paper accepted after peer review in the World Journal of Experimental Medicine. It'll be up there shortly, where we found these mRNA injections dysregulate thousands of gene expressions related to cancer surveillance and immune function and mitochondrial function. So yeah, this is undeniable.
Thank you for joining us here in the OG community. If you are not already a subscriber, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification so we can bring you another banger. Don't just come in and watch with the community. join the community. Until our next video, love and peace.